Pete, welcome to Dialogue 2010. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
I know a lot of people are wondering about the economy. There's a lot of uncertainty out there still. And I know the CBIA recently conducted a survey of business leaders across the state. How are they feeling about things with regard to the economy?
Well, I think there's cautious optimism, but certainly, business owners are very concerned about demand that's out there. In terms of the greatest business challenge, 34% of them are seeing, diminishing revenue or customer base as a major challenge for them. But surprisingly, also, 25% still say state and local taxes are a huge issue for them, and 22% legislative and regulatory uncertainty. And I think that, basically one of the big challenges we have right now is the amount of uncertainty that's out there, both because of federal policy issues such as the health care reform and the financial services reform, uncertainty as to what's going to happen with the Bush-era tax cuts. And on the state level, there's incredible uncertainty because we're facing a $3.5 billion budget shortfall for the next fiscal year the new governor and legislature will tackle. And there's uncertainty in terms of concern over potential tax increases with business people. And all these things lead to more caution when it comes to trying to hire. I mean, the red light's not on, but the green light isn't on either. They're sort of, they got a flashing yellow, and they're a little worried.
And just if you can elaborate about the impact of the state budget crisis, what effect that's having on businesses.
Well, like I said, the main thing is concern over potential tax increases. The legislature, despite all their pronouncements to the contrary, really didn't address the spending side of the issue. I don't think you can address the spending side of the issue without seriously restructuring how we provide services. Looking at things like long-term care and providing it in a different manner, looking at things like prison reform, provision of other state services, effectiveness and efficiency of programs in areas like DOT. You've got to look at that as well as the state personnel costs in order to have major impacts on the budget. Even with those, $3.5 billion is a huge amount of money. And unlike 1992, there's no silver bullet that's in the offing. So there's a lot of concern. Business people think that not only if taxes directly on their businesses go up, but if taxes on the public go up, and sales tax, personal income tax, and the like, that's going to put less money in people's pockets. And if they have less money in their pockets, they're not going to spend as much in their businesses. And it's not just Connecticut that's got this issue. It's a case nationwide. If the Bush-era tax cuts are not delayed or largely sustained in something like their present form, that's also going to have a drag on customers of Connecticut companies across the whole country. So there's a lot of concern about politicians and policies amongst business people. They hear the politicians, particularly in the campaign season, say, create jobs, economy, and yet they're seeing these actions that are moving forward or not moving forward, and will all of a sudden we're going to hit a deadline that action will be taken that really do scare businesses in regards to making job-creating investments. And until you make those job-creating investments, you're not going to get the type of job recovery we really want and desperately need.
And I know you asked them about what they would like to see the next governor do, and obviously fixing the budget is tops among those concerns. Is that right?
And fixing it in a sustained format. I mean, one of the key things with businesses is they need to have a comfort level so that they can plan and invest. They need to have as much certainty as possible, and there's always incredible amounts of uncertainty. But at least on the policy level, they need to have a comfort level that we're going to get through this problem. It's going to be solved not in a patchwork or one-time only things, so that they can look out 5 years and say, well, I can be reasonably certain this is what the tax environment's going to be, this is what the cost structure environment's going to be. So, I can expand my building. I can go into a bigger building. I can hire more people. I can buy certain types of equipment. I can take this risk of expanding my business overseas because my business here is going to be good. If they don't have those warm and fuzzies, it's really hard for them to do what they need to do.
And you mentioned about expanding overseas. I know that you had the South Korean ambassador at your conference, and he talked about, I guess, the need for Congress to implement the free trade agreement that the U.S. has, I guess, negotiated with South Korea. But in terms of Connecticut businesses, talk a little bit about exports and how.
Well, exports are vital
doing.
to Connecticut. Connecticut's the second most export-dependent state in the country. Not only do we export a wide variety of manufactured goods, we also export services and financial services as well. So, exporting is really something that's important to Connecticut businesses, and just the international connections. I mean, a lot of the reasons why a lot of our manufacturers can be profitable is, they may make the final product and do the innovation and do the higher end work here in Connecticut, but there's other work that they need done in places like Mexico and China and India that is more labor intensive, lower cost work that provide components for their final product. And without that connectivity, it's really hard for them to have a product. Or they've got a major product line. I know a manufacturer that makes thermometers, and they do these really sophisticated ones in central Connecticut, but overseas they do the more prosaic thermometers, because when they're dealing with a client, a distributor, they want the whole line. They don't want to go to 2 or 3 companies to get this. They want to go to one company, and they get all the different products they need, from the simplest to the most sophisticated. And so, that's really important for Connecticut businesses too. And I don't think there's enough appreciation or understanding by policymakers that this is really important to keep Connecticut people working, to keep Connecticut people in jobs with good benefits, good paying jobs. So, ultimately they can be taxpayers and take care of other needs that the state has.
Right, I know you asked about whether businesses might be thinking about leaving the state. What did we see in that regard? Because I think just because of the high cost of doing business here, that has been a concern.
Well,
in some businesses.
time and time again, when we survey, we hear businesses say that if they were going to expand or relocate, they'd do it outside of Connecticut or outside of the U.S. Some of that is because of markets. They may have a big customer in California, or they may have a big customer in Singapore, and they would expand or relocate to be closer to that customer. But and many times it is the cost environment here, and the cost is not just taxes, and it's not just labor costs. It's things like, if we're going to expand our factory here, we need to get permits in order to do that. And whereas we got some legislation passed last year on that in the environmental area, it still takes time. It takes an extraordinary amount of time to get these things done in Connecticut compared to other states. There's states like North Carolina that fast track this stuff. Connecticut doesn't do that. Time is money. When you're trying to put in a building or put in some major infrastructure, a delay of a year makes the project much more expensive, and oftentimes makes it so that it's not conducive to do it here. And of course, when that happens, not only do we lose the potential for the permanent jobs here, but we lose the short term in the construction activity. And, with the 103,000 jobs that we lost, one of the heaviest hit areas was construction. We need to do everything we can to get that industry up on its feet again, because whereas we are in a recovery, there are still areas that are lagging, and that certainly is one of them.